I need after the trash compactor scene. From then on, she's good. She has to catch her groove with Han and Luke.
Okay.
She's acting a little princessy before that.
But she is a princess. She needs to get knocked down a peg.
But she's acting like not very grateful for being rescued. And it's hard to rescue people.
She's been tortured and captured and
she took a
watched
nap.
her planet get genocided.
She took a nap after her planet was genocide. It tuckered her out. She's okay. She hasn't even messed up her rouge.
Bear your load, and the force be with your spirit.
Hello, this is Load Bearing Beams. I'm Laci Roth.
I'm Matt Stokes, and welcome to Load Bearing Beams. Did we say that? Hello, and welcome to Load Bearing Beams.
Now we have.
It's Star Wars week here on Load Bearing Beams. It comes but once a year, the second week of January.
Not
you
the
know
fourth
it. You love it.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about Star Wars. What's Star Wars? It's a movie from 1977, but we'll get into that.
Just wait.
But first, the business. Laci, what are we doing next week?
The Whole Nine Yards, one of my movies. I love this movie. I haven't seen it in at least 15 years, so it's perfect for this. And it gets to, we get to give a little tribute to Matthew Perry.
Yeah, this movie is not on Blu-ray, I found out when I tried to order
That makes sense. That sounds like one of my movies.
I think every one of your movies, other than maybe one or two, has been available on Blu-ray. No, Mannequin was on Blu-ray. I think go all the way back to the early episodes when Now and Then I had to. Also, it wasn't streaming. The only way we could watch it was on a DVD, and a DVD that was like in a set with 3 other movies, the Friendship Collection.
Right. Traveling Pants, Yayo Sisterhood, and Now and Then.
So
flashback stories.
Watch The Whole Nine Yards. Otherwise, you'll be totally lost when you listen to us next week. You know?
You've been told.
Yes. Okay.
Brief mug moment.
Okay.
We are discussing your most nerdy thing, which is your obsession with Star Wars and all the differences and the stuff that most people who like Star Wars get into. And I am drinking from my Forks Washington mug. And if you don't know what that is reference to, fuck you. Nope, don't tell them.
Oh, okay.
Don't tell them.
Would you say it's my most nerdy thing? I mean, I would say the thing that you even referenced, these are just giant, huge, popular franchises that normal people like.
It inspires you to get the most in the weeds about the details. Like there seems to be not much of the different arguments and the different controversies and the issues with the entire franchise that you don't know a lot about. When you say a huge interest that you invest in, you learn completely is the way you nerd.
Yeah, but to be clear, with Star Wars, I'm not heavily invested in the lore. There's the Star Wars EU, the extended universe, and to me, all I really care about is the movies. And that's what Star Wars is to me, is a set of movies. Which is why I always call the movie we're discussing Star Wars, because
you're superior.
It was released in 1977 as Star Wars. It was not called A New Hope as its subtitle until subsequent re-releases. But maybe if they'd chosen a, stronger subtitle, I'd be more open to using it. But who in the 70s or 80s was saying, let's go to the movie theaters? What are we going to see? Let's go see A New Hope.
Okay, so you've just demonstrated what I'm saying about how you get real nerdy about this shit.
But that's different from being really knowing the Force or knowing the Jedi, knowing the Old Republic.
You know about the different ways the movies are named. You know about the different things that George Lucas added after the fact. You know way more than a mainstream fan of Star. Maybe that's not true. But you know more than me.
Yeah, I think I probably know less than the average.
How much do you think I know about Twilight? I just know that
but you're not a nerd.
But I do fangirl it up.
Yeah, that's different from being a nerd.
The presence.
And part of it is because your brain is wired. This is not an insult to you. You say all the time you don't retain names and trivia. And I think that is...
Whoa. I'm amazing at trivia. I do not retain names and dates. That doesn't mean I'm not good at trivia.
That's what I'm saying as trivia. No, I didn't mean trivia the game. I mean trivial details. You don't retain them. And I think that in a shitty way, that's what being a nerd is you got to keep it all in your head and then demonstrate.
You can't be dyslexic and a nerd. That's what you're saying.
I think that may be so.
I think the term nerd means a lot of things, and you're only making it mean one thing. It's way more of a I'm saying you are really... Fuck off. I'm sorry I brought up the mug.
I love it.
No.
I love it because I would say this is a thing I do like to think about as the sort of metaphysics of movies. What is a movie? What is a movie's title? What distinguishes one movie from another?
What control does a director have over what it becomes?
Yeah. What is the real version of the movie?
Who really has the right to change it or to keep it the same?
And is a legal right the same as an ethical right or an artistic right? These are all fascinating questions. Let's first start by saying Laci is a Star Wars skeptic, and I respect her for it.
I, however, do believe in the Force, so that's weird.
It's true.
As a religion,
she believes in. She worships the Force.
I do.
Practices it.
Practicing forced person.
When it's in a movie, she thinks it's dumb.
I just think when movies are written around it, they can't hold up to my religion that I love so much.
Yeah, but I've been having a lot of stress.
You've been having a lot of stress?
I've been having a lot of stress.
Over what?
Oh, the world, the election.
No, that's not true. I'm sure it's Star Wars related stress.
It's about this episode and how are we going to keep it under 5 hours?
Fuck. We are getting a little bit too long. I mean, new people who are going to give us a try have said once or twice, 2 hours.
Well, that's why I put in little helpful timestamps. Just skip to the part you want.
That is helpful.
If you don't care about any of the history, you can just skip right past it.
They're going to miss all of our jokes. It's fine.
That means they get to hear them later. So how do we sort of contain the discussion? Because we talked about Star Wars in the very first Load Bearing Beams episode in 2017. Later that year, we did another episode on another Star Wars movie, that being The Empire Strikes Back, and then a bonus episode on the brand new movie, The Last Jedi. So the 3 episodes in the year 2017. Now, 2017 was also basically the turning point where Star Wars became the most toxic thing you can talk about, period.
But okay, they got the trolls out.
Yeah, and it was The Last Jedi in particular that did it. And since then, so many other things have happened that are very interesting to talk about and that I'd like to talk at you about.
Would you say it is nostalgia versus Gen Z wokeness? And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. I feel like I am a woke person, but so I'm saying who are the two battling entities?
So it would be nice if that you could sum it up that way, but it is not just that. Certainly there are a lot of people who resent the new Star Wars for having a female lead, for having a handful of non-white people in the cast.
Black person,
a handful.
Just a yeah.
And then in every other way being exactly like every other franchise.
Understanding that these are a collection of people from across the galaxy, but they're all pretty much human.
Yes. So it'd be easy to just dismiss it as all that. It is not just that. But when we saw The Last Jedi, we were rapturous. You can hear our bonus episode. Yeah. We were so excited about that movie. It. Yeah. And unless I had spoken to people in the real world who are not nerds and who are not there's a woman we both know who we've worked with, who I had a long conversation about The Last Jedi with, and she said all of the things not the reactionary stuff, but all of the complaints about The Last Jedi. And I was like, I didn't know actual people had these objections because everyone I know loves it.
So that must mean that she lives with the person who was complaining?
It doesn't.
You think?
You don't think she can just have that opinion on her own? I think that what The Last Jedi did was say that a lot of fandom and a lot of Star Wars fandom, and this is the Redditification of fandom, is going online and discussing your theories about the lore and but discussing, I bet this character is actually this character and this character is related to this character. And here's this mystery that I've solved due to my extensive knowledge of Star Wars backstory. And The Last Jedi swerved away from all that and said that
made it inclusive. Sucks. It made it transcend. It made it accessible to people who had not yet felt like they really, but that's true. Cause these new people, are they in it for the Star Wars? Or are they in it because these are really compelling actors and good story writing? But if that's your entry point, isn't it just good to get more fans? I don't know. It's like people who discovered Korn find the Leader album. It's just like, or Freak on a Leash or whatever. What?
I remember being on a My Chemical Romance fan site in 2005 when their second album, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, came out. And there was like a list of rules. You're not a real fan unless you prefer their first album to their second album.
As long as you were there first, you burn that bridge. No one is allowed.
For a band that had been around for 3 years.
Right. That is kind of extreme. But I mean, Korn did have like 3 really important albums and good albums
Korn's
before
the first Korn album was 94 and Follow the Leader was 99. It was 5 years.
They're really pumping them out.
It's like you fucking losers
Jonathan Davis only has so many tiers and stories. So, by the time I got to his stories, they were pretty palatable. Really. Anyway, I felt like a poser, but my generation was supposed to feel like a bunch of posers. I think we all were posers. That's what we were supposed to feel like.
So I allotted this little space at the front of the episode where we could just have these sort of big picture thoughts about Star Wars as a franchise.
Thank you.
Tell me more about, because you didn't grow up with the Star Wars movies.
No, it's going to be annoying for you, but being the older sibling, being an opinionated person, and growing up with almost entirely female cousins and stereotypical cis chicks, not nerds. They're all much better look. They're popular. They're popular people. Can we say that?
What kind of stuff are they interested in?
Mainstream. What is that word called? Just traditionally attractive
Trad
white
life?
Women.
Oh.
So and to grow up when I did and to be into Star Wars, it would be something kind of unique to females. I don't have any in my life who talked about this ever. I knew it existed.
What was the nerdiest thing that you would have been into, or that like was acceptable in your circle to be into? I mean, some of these people, like some of your cousins, liked metal music and liked like emo music.
And I would have made fun of them and said they like radio metal music, but yeah. Well, we called it alternative, didn't we? The nerd culture just didn't really pop off like that. Like, I mean, I don't think like being intelligent was super, super like praised and thought of as something to aspire to yet. Like, I don't even remember that being an option, is to really get into something, unless it's obsessing over relationships with famous people, like to really know the nitty gritty of anything in a magazine kind of a thing. You could deep dive into artists and music you love, or you could, it's crazy. You're not supposed to get super obsessed with someone's filmography and movie career, but you are allowed to be super obsessed with the famous person's real life. I remember one being cool and the other being something no one did. God, I can't think of anything that I would classify as, maybe people who claim to be witches. I mean, in my circle, people who got really into paganism or like casting spells and stuff. That obviously would not have been my cousins. God, I mean, Dungeons and Dragons wasn't really a thing that anyone talked about. World of Warcraft, maybe as a computer game, maybe computer games. Maybe people who were really into the internet early on would be as close as my friends got to being nerds. People that are already in chat rooms and downloading things really slowly and learning how to be on the computer all the time. That's my nerds from the 90s.
And we keep saying nerds, but and we are aware, like, we're talking about Star Wars, the most popular movie ever made, the most popular movie franchise ever made. But you did grow up basically in the great lull of Star Wars, because Star Wars was...
That's what we called it.
77 through 83 was when the original movies were released. Mm-hmm. And then the prequels weren't until 99. And there was kind of a good solid 10 years where there was just nothing happening in Star Wars, where the only new Star Wars was novels and occasionally video games.
I didn't even grow up with people who read. Like, that just... My mom read, and she was a standout in the family because Beth likes to read. Huh. And it won the Bible. She's crazy, that Beth. I never thought about this before.
This is why I like to
ask.
They're
nerds.
I ask both your parents and my parents, like, did you go see Batman in 1989 in the theater? I just want to know, like, for you guys are like just the paragon of normie. And I just want to know these giant things that happened. Did you participate? Mm-hmm. You being born in 84 and when the newest Star Wars movie in 1999 came out, you basically would have been 15. Were you, when the Phantom Menace came out, I guess you were probably past the point where you'd be interested in like participating in something like huge pop culturally?
No, I mean, because when did Titanic come out? Like
97, but that was aimed like squarely at you.
Oh, well, wait, but so I don't think Star Wars was trying to target me.
Right. But it was the biggest thing happening in pop culture that year. But I think maybe if it had happened a few years earlier, you would have been like, oh, I should check this out. But by age 15 or 16, you're like an apathetic teen.
In 15, I was squarely in my abusive relationship that would be in until my late junior year, and whatever he wanted to do was what I was into. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I was in a weird place, and I had a smaller circle of friends. I didn't have my own interests, sad story of a person who morphed into their boyfriend every time they had one.
Yeah. Like now you host a podcast and talk about Star Wars.
And fuck you. Because I want to.
Exactly.
And I can shit on both of those things at will.
And I won't do anything about it other than seethe quietly. She doesn't know.
I'll step on your balls while I'm doing it.
Oh, don't throw me with a good time. So, but like in the way that people like my parents in the last season of Game of Thrones were saying, like, should I start watching this show? Like, that's how big it was at that point. But your formative years were during the times where there was no Star Wars. So it totally makes sense.
By the time they came back, I was fully into drugs.
All the Force was conspiring to not make this your thing. And so that's
for sure.
That's the thing that you come into this with.
Right. And there was no person that I looked up to that just really loved this from the 70s and 80s. So there was no person to like give it to me at a time when there was still time to graft to my brain the importance and the nostalgia and seeing if it were like Westerns and Elvis. Those things are so important to my dad that those became important to me, which is kind of silly. Not all Westerns, like the Duke.
Yeah.
So if you say either of those things, I go, I love those, without giving either of those things a thought. But because they're important to my dad, I say that. So absolutely, if I had a more nerdy, my dad wasn't a greaser, so he was just
like George Lucas.
Hot rods and fast women. I don't know. He liked anything cool, and that wouldn't have been cool.
So you never exposed to any Star Wars properties until she met me. No other boyfriends had done this to you or husbands.
No one made me. No, yeah. You would think. Other people had tried to make me watch other things that are like, well, you never... I had a huge list of, you've never seen that?
Yeah.
All the Godfathers. The end. All the Star Wars.
So...
Every scary movie ever. No, never seen a slasher.
Well, now you have.
Now I have.
Yeah.
And I'm better for it.
We start coupling with each other, and I'm like, you never seen Star Wars. And so early in our relationship, we watched it together, and you didn't like it. I'm like so traumatized by that, I don't bring it up again until about 6 years later when we start talking about doing a podcast about the phenomenon of exposing ourselves to things that mean a lot to each other, but we have no relationship with them.
And that's what makes this interesting and complicated and hard to talk about and important to talk about. Context
so
really...
important.
So important, guys. Ever since you started doing these really in-depth history parts of the podcast, that started a whole new chapter for me in watching movies and understanding them and care. I never, ever cared about directors. Ever. It felt like just yet one more thing for me to not remember and to say wrong and to get wrong. So there's certain things where I'm like, nope, I'm automatically hitting the ejection sheet on that one. But Tarantino was different. Quentin Tarantino, I don't know why. Maybe because his style was so easy to recognize, his name was so easy to remember. That became my guy. But then when I've met you, I started caring about directors and style and people who had an eye and a point of view and something that felt different. And I cared about that. And then joining TikTok, even more. Getting a letterbox, even more. Like each thing that we add to this, I appreciate movies more and in a different way. And rewatching them, I can always find something I do like and appreciate, even if I hated it 5 years ago. Anyway, your history segments have been doing that for me. My opinion almost changes by the next.
It happens to me too with
day.
Movies, even movies that you make me watch that I don't like. Then I do a lot of research, and then, but more than that, just do a close rewatch, making notes, and that always makes me just, it's like, well, now I know this. Now they're my friends, even though I don't like them.
Right. Familiarity.
And it bumps it up. You know, maybe we talk too much about directors or we're too auteur, because there are people who push back on the auteur theory and the idea that you talk about movies as being the product of a director when all movies are the product of but so many people. It's a collaborative medium.
The performances, the writing, the cinematography.
All the tech people whose names like are not in the opening credits. Yeah. And my response to that is that's true. I usually intend the director to represent that team. So I'm less talking about but that's not true. I'm talking about the person. It's with Star Wars, it is so much the product of one person.
So that's why I brought up your history segment. I just have had a feeling that this particular segment is going to help me have a soft spot for this movie in a way that I don't yet have and want. I do want it.
Because we're recording this section having watched the movie, then we're going to watch it again.
After I understand where George Lucas was, where he's coming from, more about him. I think that is going to make it more special and meaningful. I hope.
Yeah.
May you force me.
Okay. So my history with the movie
is...
right. I didn't grow up with... until I was 9 years old, hadn't seen it, didn't know anything about it.
The old age of fucking 9.
They got released in 1997, the Star Wars Trilogy Special Edition in theaters. And so I went and saw the original Star Wars movie, which, again, in 1997, only marketed as Star Wars. I'm holding up the VHS from 1997. You will see no subtitle here, just the Star Wars logo. And maybe that is also why I'm so, strident in my you do not call it A New Hope, you do not call it episode 4.
Well, of course it is, because you came in on the 3rd album of Korn, so the 4th album, the 5th album are stupid and lame and they're not the real Korn.
But it's conveniently aligned with my sort of originalist textualist view of cinema, which is what was the movie released as? What was it called by normal people when it was released? It was called Star Wars. That's why you call it Star Wars. That's why Star Wars is a movie.
That's what I call it. That's why we're going to stay married.
So we will not be saying A New Hope after this.
I gotta say, the big Disney Plus fucking thing on the side of this graphic you have showing all the characters of Star Wars, or whatever these are, makes me hate it a little.
Yeah,
I've just got
no.
Just the Disney logo just kind of makes my skin crawl a little. It cheapens things for me. I feel marketed to. I feel targeted.
Disney Star Wars. That could be
That's where this shirt probably came from. I tried to find the most one I'd not seen before shirt.
Yeah, I've never seen that shirt.
With my favorite character.
Yeah.
The old Solo.
So to try to narrow the discussion, we're just talking about the one movie Star Wars, and we're talking about George Lucas not as a weird cultural symbol, but just as a director.
Person. I want
specifically
tell me about this man.
Okay.
I'm dying to.
Okay. But first, we make our predictions.
Fucking hell. Yay, podcast. I do kind of like mine this time, though. Ugh. That's not a happy groan. Here we go again. I really want to like it. I feel like I'm missing something very important about what it's doing. And I am going to try to catch it this time. I'm going to be a good Star Wars watcher, I promise. I'm sleepy. You can hear. I'm near nap. Save me, Luke Skywalker. Only you can help. I'm trying to remember words from the movie from 70. Bye. Old Ben. That's what I call him because I'm an originalist. Wait, shit. He was that in his middle of life.
So you made that prediction. What did you think?
I nailed it. I was so tired last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you were a great Star Wars watcher.
Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that prediction was wrong. I really tried, though.
Here was what I said. Okay, prediction for Star Wars. I watched this movie about a year ago, so it's pretty recent for me. My assessment being that it's great. I love it. I no longer consider it my favorite movie, but it's the best. So I've traditionally ranked it as the best Star Wars movie, ahead of The Empire Strikes Back, though I think in my most recent rankings I put The Empire Strikes Back number 1 and Star Wars number 2. Not important. How am I going to view it this time? What is my prediction for how I'm going to view it this time? Well, the lens I'm trying to view it through is specifically as a George Lucas movie. And I just finished reading the George Lucas biography by Brian J. Jones. I've rewatched his first two movies, THX 1138 and American Graffiti. And so I want to see how it plays as a George Lucas movie.
I didn't know that was his
specifically. Movie. How does it have his avant-garde tendencies? Does it have like that wah-wah 70s spirit? Does it have the political energy that he channeled, that he says he channeled into the movie because he wasn't able to make Apocalypse Now? But more important than any of that is, how is Laci going to view it? I predict, this is my prediction for Laci, she is going to basically end up where I ended up with Dirty Dancing. She's going to say that she likes it more. It's not for her, but she's happy that nice boys like me can enjoy it.
Okay. Your prediction for me is pretty good.
I realized I said wow. I think I meant woo woo, the woo woo 70s.
Yeah, Wawa was. I was like, what's a Wawa 70?
Walmart. Yeah, yeah. The which you see in Star Wars, like the Force is totally like a 1970s like new age, crusty Northern California sort of idea, and the movie is too. I mean, that's why I love thinking about Star Wars as a movie and as the product of a filmmaker very rooted in the era. Let's talk about that filmmaker. A lot of this segment I'm going to call reading, because I'm going to be reading to you.
Jesus.
Here are two quotes from George Lucas from 1974. So this is a full 3 years before Star Wars. Here's what George said. Quote, "I don't have a natural talent for writing," George Lucas confessed to Filmmakers Newsletter in 1974. "When I sit down, I bleed on the page, and it's just awful. Writing just doesn't flow in a creative surge the way other things do." End quote. This is what he loved to do was edit. He loved and he loved effects. He wanted to be a producer more than anything. That's what he saw his role as. He didn't like writing, and the other thing he didn't like doing was directing. So here's this other quote. Quote, "You couldn't pay me enough money to go through what you have to go through to make a movie. It's excruciating. It's horrible. You get physically sick. I get a very bad cough and a cold whenever I direct. I don't know whether it's psychosomatic or not. You feel terrible. There's an immense amount of pressure and emotional pain. Compromising is one of the worst pains you can suffer. But I do it anyway, and I really love to do it. It's like climbing mountains. Cut and bruised and freezing cold, and you lose toes and everything, but then you get it done. When you get it done, it's all worth it." End quote. So this great book, George Lucas, A Life by Brian J. Jones, is what I'm using to take a lot of this from. George Lucas, right from the beginning, didn't like writing, didn't like directing. And one thing you see is that after Star Wars 1977, he didn't do either until 1999, until the Star Wars prequels, because he hired other directors and writers to make The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
These were like things he forced himself to do because it's like the only way. And also he was the only person he trusted to do it. Control was a big thing for George Lucas. The influences on Star Wars. I mean, what was he trying to do with this movie? He was trying to synthesize a bunch of different things he was interested in. One of the big ones was film serials. And these were like TV series before TV existed, where you went to the movie theater and you saw a little installment 1 week at a time.
Okay.
And this is a time like the 30s and the 40s when most Americans went to the movies 50 times a year. It was just a thing everybody did every week.
Because there was no TV.
Right. So, and these things usually like adventure, sci-fi, fantasy. The big ones that he cites are Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. And he tried to get the rights to Flash Gordon to make a movie and he wasn't able to get them. So he made Star Wars instead. But the idea for these was you go to the theater, you see a bunch of action, and then it ends on a cliffhanger. And with both Star Wars, I mean, yeah. With Star Wars and with another movie he produced, Raiders of the Lost Ark, he was so influenced by these and was like, can we recapture the way those things made you feel as a kid, and a movie that's just the good parts of the film serials.
The good parts. Like the storytelling emotional parts are the bad parts.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, yeah. Samurai movies, especially movies directed by Akira Kurosawa, were a giant influence on George Lucas and a lot of the style. a lot of the style and the aesthetic comes from samurai movies that Kurosawa directed, and specifically what he took was the sort of rundown, ratty world of the samurais. You want to look at it and see, like, this world, it used to be more glorious. I'm coming in at the end of something. And the other thing he took was like the wipes, the transitions between scenes.
Okay. Yeah.
Which really do stand out if you watch them now. You're like, why? What's up with these wipes? When you watch
Stop
Star Wars
saying
movies?
wipes. Just thinking of poop.
George Lucas was born in 1944, grew up in Modesto, California, and he was a gearhead and a greaser as a teenager. He loved cars, driving fast, fixing them up. It's very easy to psychoanalyze George Lucas. He makes it very easy. For one thing, his main character is named Luke, and his name is Lucas. But you can graft on details from his life onto the movies that he made, with Modesto, California being Tatooine, Luke Skywalker's planet that he wants to escape from, and his dad, who was very proud of the stationery store he owned and assumed his son will one day take it over.
Nerd alert. What a boner killer. Stationery.
Take over my stationery store.
Why don't you stay here?
It's one of the
with stationery. Get it?
It's one of the most popular stationery stores in Modesto.
One of.
It's one of.
I guess before the internet there were a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of mail to go out.
But George wanted something more, something better. He wanted to make movies. And his dad, who was like a very old school and conservative guy, who was like a pull yourself up by your bootstraps and kind of self-made guy, is like, I don't know about that. I think you should stay here and take over the stationery store. So yeah, the Star Wars, the Luke Skywalker arc is very obvious to see in there.
Did he also like to talk normal and then scream really loud, like fucking Atreyu? Because that's what Luke Skywalker
when does
does.
Luke do that?
Oh my God. Luke never... Hey, come on, man. Oh my God, they're on me. Hey, Mom, you're dead. Yeah, there's no mom.
I meant to ask you about Neverending Story. Did you like Star Wars better than Neverending Story?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought Neverending Story had like a similar kind of vibe.
Look at that greaser, greasing it up.
So George Lucas was part of a generation of film school students. Film school was kind of a new concept.
I do know this about him.
Yeah?
I do know that Scorsese, James Cameron, I'm trying to think of that. No, but there's like 3 other big actors he graduated with, right?
Directors. Well,
Directors, sorry.
He didn't go to school with Scorsese, but he's in like that generation of...
Okay. I just
there's
thought there were 3
a movement called New Hollywood, and it's basically the old Hollywood studio system was collapsing. Hollywood had been kind of a business for like seasoned veterans. They don't let new people come in and do weird things.
Gatekeeping.
And Lucas, along with, Spielberg, Scorsese, Brian De Palma, a lot of other guys that he was personal friends with, and his mentor, Francis Ford Coppola, sort of pushed through and took over the industry and made first very adult-oriented movies, especially like
Triple X,
like Mean Streets or Taxi Driver. Like,
okay, just like we're not young that we can't show adult serious stuff. Like they're kind of overcompensating.
No, more like Hollywood is all fluff. It's all fluff. It's all popcorn bullshit.
Glitz and glamour.
So at first we're going to show the real shit, and then as the decade goes on, and you get the ascendancy of Spielberg and Lucas, we kind of just rebuild the old popcorn Hollywood hit-making studio system, but in these giant blockbusters like first Jaws and then Star Wars. Rocky also was a big one in there. And it's easy to say like that's a response to how shitty things were going in the country with Vietnam and Watergate and all that. People just want to go to the movies and feel good.
It is easy to say that.
Yeah.
In fact, you just did.
And it was nothing.
Rolled off your tongue.
So yeah, he went to school at USC, and he had a bunch of other classmates known as the Film Brats, some of whom went on to be important film people like John Milius and Walter Murch, and he was the star student. He directed his weird little avant-garde short films, very little narrative.
Tell me the characteristics of something that makes it avant-garde, please.
Just weird.
No. Oh, no, you're right. One off, right? Because in fashion, avant-garde is something you haven't seen before. It's not supposed to be practical. It's supposed to be style over substance, and you don't see it again.
Let's look up this actual definition, because I think of it as weird and sort of counterculture and critical of established norms. New and unusual or experimental ideas, especially in the arts.
Yay. I win.
Mm-hmm. He described his movies as tone poems. They don't have narrative, characterization. Get that out of here. I'm just concerned with the way they make you feel.
I need words, buddy, but all right.
This quote I have from him saying, quote, I was into trying to create emotions through pure cinematic techniques. All the films I made during that time center on conveying emotions through a cinematic experience, not necessarily through the narrative. Throughout my career, I've remained a cinema enthusiast. Even though I went on to make films with more conventional narratives, I've always tried to convey emotions through essentially cinematic experiences.
I appreciate him trying.
Meaning, and he always would maintain this, like, plot and character, those aren't the important things to me. I just want to make you feel stuff through cinema. And I agree with him. Character and plot are a little overrated. Or let's just say over-discussed. I think often they're not actually why people connect so much to movies.
Then what am I supposed to connect with? I feel like I'm being obtuse here, but I don't. What are you making?
To the cinema experience.
What is the cinema?
That's everything that you're seeing.
Okay.
It's the camera movements, it's editing, it's music, it's sound. Visuals and sound.
This is what puts me at a disadvantage of coming in and seeing this, 40 years after it's made or whatever, for the first time. Is it the right amount of
40? Yeah, 5 or 6.
I definitely appreciate the work that went into the practicalness of everything. That all looks handmade. None of it's CGI except for the stupid shit he added later. All of that, but it does feel like a cardboard cutout most of the time that I could kick over, or just feels it would have really. Someone asked the question on TikTok, what is the movie you would most like to see in the theater and have experienced it in the theater? And I take that to mean I don't just put it on now. I am a person of that time watching it, and that's the one. That is, I know what the disconnect is it's been parodied so much, every moment of it, including by itself with the Force Awakens, the new.
Yeah, well, it's not parodied, but covered by itself.
Right,
yeah.
So none of it looks as new and as fresh as it should. It truly feels like a kid playing with action figures and what they would do with each other, including like the super wholesome pew 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 sounds at everything seems kind of harmless. Yeah. Even though atrocities happen.
But that to me isn't a criticism. I'm
not criticizing it. I'm saying it doesn't make me feel if he's saying that it's not about the story and the plot, it's about the things you're looking at. That's where it falls short for me, because the power that those visuals has a little bit gotten lost in what my brain's been corrupted with that came after it.
Well, he said those things with his more arty or early movies, and he then tried to make things that were more conventionally narrative and plot and character focused.
But with Star Wars, it's still all so rooted style in and visual. I mean, that the whole movie is about. I mean, clearly the love really went into how everything looks.
So I mean, I think these are strong characters. I think this is a really good plot. So that's where I get frustrated talking about this with you, because
no, I am happy to report that I actually like Carrie Fisher this time.
Oh, okay.
Her first 2 scenes are the problem for me. She doesn't seem passionate yet. She just seems kind of clumsy. But then she gets her shit together, and they overly make up her, right? That's why I appreciate about Rey. And if it's supposed to be grimy and this is things after it's gone to shit, then don't put her in a purely white dress that's got nothing on it. When she falls in the dumpster, then I'm into it. Her perfectly glossed lips, like they're reapplying gloss every time, and it's like you don't need it. She didn't need it. That still
gets done in movies
today. She was
today.
already pretty, yes, but they're mindful of the fact that it doesn't make sense for the point of the movie that they're in right there. She's been fucking kidnapped. Gloss wears off of your lips after like an hour. So that specific, if it had been like a stain or something on her lips, like a lipstick stain, that even would have been much better. But the fresh, perfect, not sweating, she never fucking sweats. Her hair gets a little messy at one point. I did see the more, I appreciated her dialogue and her sass.
She's supposed to have been captured while like in her official princess garb.
I understand that. Like, yeah, her dress isn't practical, but I get why she's in it. I just mean that it's white. It stays white most of the time when that just wouldn't be. You've been through too much. And I like the way she doesn't like and likes both of them. I mean, she likes Skywalker. Fine. Just stop kissing your brother.
They weren't brothers, brother and sister.
I know, but
that was later. We're only talking about this movie.
Fine.
And that is clearly something George Lucas like made up at the last minute before Return of the Jedi in 1983.
Okay.
And in fact, the more you think about it, the worse it seems, because it's like he's like, Luke needs a twin sister. Who should it be? The only other woman character in this whole thing. It's just a way of making the whole thing seem small. Like, the promise of Star Wars is there's so much out there, but then even in the original trilogy by Return of the Jedi, everything is contracting. Everything is getting smaller. We're pushing more inward. If you have a twin sister, it has to be a character we already know. It can't be somebody new who we've yet to meet. So George Lucas. So he gets taken under the wing of Francis Ford Coppola, who is 5 years older than him, but in a movie industry where there were very few young directors, Coppola recognized Lucas and is like, I want to help this young guy. He's kind of like me. And Coppola was building this company called American Zoetrope, which was not just a production company, but he was envisioning it as a like filmmaker commune that was based in Northern California, totally independent of the Hollywood
pooling
machine.
Resources and helping each other.
Yep, exactly.
I like it.
That was the vision.
That's how I think of TikTok. I'm going to stop mentioning TikTok.
George Lucas had made his biggest student film. His student film that got the most attention was a short film called Electric Labyrinth THX 1138-4B. So Warner Brothers allows him to expand this into a feature film. And this is his first feature film, THX 1138, which came out in 1971. You would not like this movie.
I already don't.
It is a very interesting movie. Narratively kind of weak, but Robert Duvall basically plays a guy he's basically a stormtrooper in a sort of future dystopia where all behavior is regulated. You take pills to regulate all.
I like that.
All behavior, including sexuality.
I like that.
You get paired up with a roommate and you patrol each other's pills that you take.
Yeah, I like all that.
Yeah. You wouldn't like the experience of watching the movie, but you'd like the movie described to you.
Okay, thank you.
And Robert Duvall's roommate, who is a woman who becomes attracted to him, starts giving him the wrong pills, and then it makes them become sexually attracted to each other. Then he gets arrested, and he wants to escape this reality. It's interesting, and it's so Star Wars when you look at it and listen to it. The sounds that George Lucas creates, and sound is such a big strength of his, they're all there. But this movie, when he delivered it to Warner Brothers, the executives at Warner Brothers hated it, recut it, deleted 4 total minutes, and thus began George Lucas's longtime hatred of executives and just desperate need for control and ownership, which he's right.
That makes a lot of sense.
So he makes THX. It does not do well commercially, although it does get kind of a cult following. People, especially in Europe, are like, you got to see this weird shit. But Francis Ford Coppola says to George Lucas, quote, "Don't be so weird. Try to do something that's human. Everyone thinks you're a cold fish, but you can be a warm and funny guy, make a warm and funny movie." And then George Lucas's wife, Marcia, who was a collaborator of his, was an editor on his movies, basically warns him, like, you have to have movies that involve the audience emotionally. So this quote from Marcia Lucas: "After THX went down the toilet, I never said I told you so, but I reminded George that I warned him it hadn't involved the audience emotionally. He always said emotionally involving the audience is easy. Anybody can do it blindfolded. Get a little kitten and have some guy wring its neck. All he wanted to do was abstract filmmaking, tone poems, collections of images." So finally, George said to me, "I'm going to show you how easy it is. I'll make a film that emotionally involves the audience." So basically, on a dare, he makes the movie American Graffiti. And this is a movie about George Lucas's teenage years in Modesto, California, just driving around. But it is a movie that has very little plot. It is kind of just atmosphere. You're just hanging out with this group of teenagers, and they're
saying tone poems. That was a tone poem.
But once again, George makes the movie, delivers it to the studio. This time it's Universal, and they don't like it. And they say, we're going to recut it. They delete 4 minutes out of it.
4 minutes again?
Yeah, 4 minutes again. But that's all they do. They otherwise they leave it intact, but still George seethes. But the movie is a giant hit. It makes $55 million on a $1 million budget.
Americans like cars, man.
For the first time, George Lucas is financially secure.
Well, and that's how that you only need that much distance from the decade to get that nostalgia points. Those nostalgia points. You were just like, we're being recognized.
11 years.
We were cool too, man.
Yeah, 11 years. But like with Dirty Dancing, people love to look at 1962 and 1963 as this hinge point in history. Mm-hmm. We didn't know how innocent we were and yet weren't. American Graffiti being such a big hit is why Star Wars exists.
Right.
Why so many people were willing to take a chance on him. You read quotes from the actors who worked in Star Wars who all kind of basically say, I didn't understand Star Wars. I didn't know what we were doing. He didn't successfully communicate what this was, but I trusted him. It's like, okay, you made American Graffiti and nobody probably knew what that was either. So I'm going to trust you. And everybody loved that movie and it was such a big hit. So we'll trust you. But this is where he finds a champion, the one executive who he liked, who was an executive at 20th Century Fox named Alan Ladd Jr., who was very old school film exec who just went by his gut and his feel. And I got a good feeling about this kid. And he told me he's got a plan for a movie with space wizards and blah, 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 and I don't get it, but I like this kid and I'm going to trust him. So he gets a $11 million budget to make Star Wars. And the development of Star Wars begins.
Did George Lucas know going in that it probably wasn't enough to do his big ambitious stuff? I mean, he made it work, but was he cognizant at all of like how much things cost? Was that his bag?
He was good at that, but he was
budgeting
miserable the whole time he produced Star Wars, feeling the crunch of the budget and no time. And I think that's a big reason why he never was able to stop going back and tinkering with it, because he felt like this isn't finished. We're not finishing and you're making us just move on. When I didn't get the scene I wanted, I didn't get like the cantina scene he was very unhappy with.
Yeah, well, because it had so much potential. And I feel like other movies have taken that idea and made great moments. Mm-hmm. I feel like the collection of people where this is the one spot on this planet where everyone gets along, kind of. You're going to get a joke out of the scene, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Lucas, always a very good businessman, made a deal with the studio for a not substantial fee for directing the movie, coming off a giant movie like American Graffiti. He got $100,000 to direct the movie and $50,000 to write it.
But what he really got was full control. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. Specifically of two things that the studio said, who gives a shit about that? One, merchandising. And that's why George Lucas became a billionaire. Because he said, well, that could be a big deal if the movie's a hit. And two was sequels. He gets to own the sequels and totally control the sequels.
Forever and ever?
Yes. When you make a movie for a studio, usually the studio will control the sequels and they'll want to bring you back to make it, but it's their call. And in his case, he goes back to the studio and says, no, I call all the shots. You want to produce Star Wars 2. This is what you got to give me. I really like this clip from 2015, George Lucas talking to Robert Redford about executives and why he thinks they're so useless. And in this case, he's talking about the one executive who he liked.
Yeah. Okay. He doesn't understand how banks work, but fine.
Oh, no, but he so resented making money for other people who he thought didn't actually do anything.
They have the clout. You need a position.
And he just so resents that. But I love that he's pointing out, of course, studios would always say, but we're paying for the thing. And he said, but you're not paying for it. You're getting someone else's money.
If I need someone to help me buy a car one day, It will be you need credit.
Yeah, I know. But
yeah.
I think one thing that changed in the 70s was film studios were in, the golden era of Hollywood, were the literal place you make the movie. And that changed. Suddenly it wasn't the physical location.
Right.
What they really were was just a lender. That is really, to this day, what film studios are the financiers.
Yeah.
And I think he resented that. But yeah, hated making money for other people. Okay, production.
Even the actors? I mean, the actors are earning their keep.
He was very generous. He gave profit participation points to actors and producers and to people who he thought actually did something to contribute.
That's almost all I need from a director, is to know that he's good to his staff.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very demanding boss, but it seems like everybody thinks he was very generous in terms of sharing that. Okay, so the movie was produced on a budget of $11 million, which was not nothing, but Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind that same year was $20 million. The James Bond movie that year was $14 million. The movie A Bridge Too Far was $25 million. And the movie Superman from the following year was $55 million. And Laci was saying while we watched it, this looks really cheap.
It looks very practical. It looks homemade in some places. It looks like I could figure out how they did it.
Yeah, which I was saying before we watched it, that to me is why this movie is so charming.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what gives me the feeling of I'm playing in a really loved and thought out and built out model of planets and places that someone put together and made over years and years. But it's still just a model. There's something flat about it, something empty, something untextured. And it is charming. But it's not.
All I see is texture. I see the griminess on the robots and the sets and the props. It looks like it's all texture to me. They shot in Tunisia, in the desert of Tunisia, and on sound stages in London. Okay. The actual production of Star Wars, it's so well documented. We could spend a billion years talking about it. But there's lots of great books and podcasts you can go listen to hear all about that. So the studio was not that confident in the movie, and they have a lot of big movies coming up in the summer. They're worried about it facing competition in the summer, so they move it up to Memorial Day, which today Memorial Day is part of the summer release schedule, but back then you just dump movies then. But it was a huge hit like no other. You can read these great accounts of the premieres, of people seeing it in real time. And, just the opening with the Star Destroyer coming on screen and whooshing and people just losing their minds, screaming. I like you said, I'd love to go back in time and just be there.
There's no even comprehending it. And to be a person that was there and then, even 10, 15 years later, realizing how important, already realizing what institution this movie is. Yeah, it's the thing that happened to you. It's your Woodstock. I was there. You're going to make sure you burn you gatekeep what is and is not part of this, and who gets to be smart about talking about stuff like this, and who's in our club. And I'm not in the club. And
that's fascinating to think about. But it seems like the people who have that attitude are not the people who saw it in real time as a movie. Like, I think to people who were alive and saw it in 1977, it was just a movie, it was a great movie. But I think it's like people my age
if they were 12 and then 20 years later, they're 32 and they have the distance they need to see that it was still a big deal. Don't you think that those are those people?
I think that those people are more flexible. I think that what I'm saying is the worst Star Wars fans, I think, are the ones who came of age in the 90s when Star Wars was handed down like a sacred text and can't remember a world where it didn't exist.
Sure. I see that too.
There are tons of other important people who made Star Wars. George Lucas's most important collaborator seems to be producer Gary Kurtz, who was with him for American Graffiti and the first two Star Wars movies. And then they parted ways before Return of the Jedi. But he seemed like no other collaborator able to push back on George Lucas and his maniacal need to control. Another major important...
I love a good whisperer. I think of myself as one. Although I shout, but yeah.
Yeah, but you make me palatable to people.
That's true. Very tasty.
Okay, the cast. We'll talk about the cast now. Lucas wanted unknowns. He didn't want known actors for these roles. And he also didn't want to work with any actors who he'd worked with before. He did a very, very wide open call casting process. John Travolta, Nick Nolte, Tommy Lee Jones. These are all actors who he passed on. And the actors didn't totally understand the material and thought, this is all gobbledygook. How am I supposed to say this and make it sound convincing? Mark Hamill, who was 24 at the time of Star Wars production, was mainly a TV actor. He went into audition for Luke Skywalker. George Lucas let him get in a few words and then said next. And so he was very surprised when months later they called him back. Harrison Ford, who was 34, had basically at this point already been a failed actor. He was in American Graffiti. And George Lucas's casting director said, hey, we should bring back that guy who wore the cowboy hat in American Graffiti. And George Lucas didn't want to work with people from American Graffiti again. So his casting director
doesn't want to muse or to be seen as having one.
Right.
He's not amused by that.
Didn't want to be like Scorsese and De Niro.
And Tarantino, who didn't exist yet.
And who Uma Thurman? Or Samuel L. Jackson.
He has a bunch of muses. Yeah. And Leonardo DiCaprio now. And he always piggybacks. Leapfrogs. Whatever.
So the casting director said, well, Harrison Ford, who had semi-retired from acting and is now working as a carpenter to support his family, had a good idea. I'll hire Harrison Ford to come into the office as a carpenter. And so he comes in to start doing some work in the office. And then the casting director says, Harrison, you mind reading these lines?
It is so weird when you use his name as a first name. I don't think I've ever heard anyone just call him Harrison. Weird. Harrison.
40.
Yeah. Coppola.
Will you read... they're coming in to audition for Luke. Can you play Han while they play Luke? And so he does this over the process of weeks and really it becomes second nature. And now he's able to do the character very relaxed, very cocky. Mm-hmm. He just feels like he is Han Solo. And this is basically how he wins the role.
That's really cute.
Through subterfuge. Carrie Fisher, who was 19, as a damn Napo baby, daughter of Debbie Reynolds.
That's why she's so fucking sweet.
Eddie Fisher. Lucas thought she was too pushy for a princess. What? But he thought she had good chemistry with Harrison Ford. Said, the role is yours if you lose 10 pounds.
Okay.
Now, so he's got his trio of unknowns in the lead, but we need an established actor with some gravitas. So they go to Sir Alec Guinness, who was 62 years old at the time, won the Best Actor Oscar 20 years prior, is basically a legend in very serious movies.
In this movie? Is that Obi-Wan?
Obi-Wan Kenobi, yeah. And
I was just kidding.
Obi-Wan, Alec Guinness kind of feuded with George because he didn't understand the character, and George Lucas wasn't sure if his character would live or die throughout the movie. Only decided during production your character is going to die.
Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Get him out of here. Plus, it helps propel my theory of Luke is cursed. Don't ever be liked by Luke.
It's true. Luke poisons everything he touches.
Luke, everything dies.
That's why The Last Jedi is good. Because it recognizes, hey, I've watched the Star Wars movies. Everything seems to turn to shit around you and the Jedi.
Yeah. Go to this island.
Okay, so we've talked for 3.5 hours. Now we can finally talk about the movie itself, Star Wars.
What is that?
It's a movie from 1970. It's time to go through Star Wars, scene by scene, frame by frame. But first, to all our listeners, we have to issue a very heartfelt, important, sincere correction and apology. Earlier in the episode, I said something very silly. I said that Korn's Follow the Leader came out in 1999. Now, of course, everybody knows it came out in 1998. Again,
disgusting.
I want to say sorry, first of all, to Laci.
That's disgusting.
I love her. And I know I'm going to have to work to regain your trust.
Trust is hard to build.
I look forward to doing that work.
Oh, my God.
Thank you so much.
This is embarrassing.
We'll try to press forward with Star Wars.
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay, Star Wars, the motion picture, opens with the 20th Century Fox fanfare. I think this is probably the most linked that a studio fanfare and music is to the contents of the actual film that follows. Would you agree?
I wouldn't know how to disagree.
I think most people, when they hear the 20th Century Fox theme, automatically fill in their head. Now it's straight into Star Wars. It's like,
Okay, wait, sing it.
Can't
wait for Star Wars. When does the Star Wars part happen?
And then the dramatic no sound for a minute, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And then just, yeah. I mean, it's right there. That's why it's one of the greatest movies ever made. That even the worst Star Wars movie, if you go see it in theaters and you get that experience, although of course you don't get that experience anymore because there's no 20th Century Fox. It was so weird in 2015 to go see the movie with no Fox opening fanfare.
If you do it again, I will leave.
Well, you remember how it goes, right?
I do. Stop.
Now, another thing you won't care about is, God, I'm not looking forward to this episode. As I was making this PowerPoint, I'm like, God, I hate this movie now.
Well, that's all I needed.
Knowing Laci's gonna,
That's the point of the podcast, for me to make you hate yourself.
They have on Disney Plus, all the Star Wars shows start with, well, first, if you see a Marvel movie, it starts with the Marvel opening. Dun, 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 dun,
with all the comics that speed by, yeah.
So they've done that with Star Wars too now. So,
a montage.
Yeah, you're seeing all the iconic characters and this new sound. And so that's how it opens now. And I hate that. I hate that, like...
I was going to say, it had me from the jump and then lost me from jump too. But but I love the... I love the flying through space moment. I love the it's what number 1 or number 2 of the most iconic sounds score. I don't know what you call it. It's a song. Mm-hmm. It's a melody attached to a movie ever.
Yeah.
Maybe number one.
What's the other contender that you're thinking of?
It's tricky. I mean, do you call Jaws that sound? Do you call that sound a sound? Okay, then there's that. Then there's Jurassic Park. There's Mission Impossible.
As time goes by, Casablanca.
Sure. There's Halloween. Those are the ones that are standing. I mean, Godfather. Mm-hmm. It's hard to pick. This one might be number 1 because it's immediately, it's top 3. You just don't know where.
Yeah. Warner Brothers sometimes does the Casablanca
2001:
theme
A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Actually, that is used the most. That's just very memeable. I'm sorry. Did you want to say something?
I don't know if you count 2001 because that existed before the movie.
Oh, okay.
But then so did As Time Goes By. The Warner Brothers studio fanfare will sometimes incorporate As Time Goes By from Casablanca. Dun, 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 dun,
and then and then wavy screen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yakko, Wacko, and Dot come out.
We could really just do an entire episode on these things, but why don't we move on past literally the opening fucking pixel?
I got bad news for you. I have a lot more to say about these pixels. Just to follow up, I hate the Star Wars Disney Plus opening because it makes Star Wars something other than movies. It's like, no, Star Wars, the franchise, the universe of Star Wars. It's all one big bucket of content. I don't like that. When you link it to 20th Century Fox, it's like the magic of the movies. Here we go. And it's you first hear a non-Star Wars sound. And I love that. I love that you hear a non-Star Wars sound into Star Wars. Whereas the new thing's like all that exists is Star Wars.
It's the same reason why the HBO sound is the beginning. I know there's like a specific movie where I'm like, that's it. That's the movie that comes after that sound. And I can't think of what it is anymore, but I think it might be Beetlejuice.
A movie after HBO.
Oh, yeah. Well, because that's the only way I saw like movies with cursing, movies that were newish, just came out of the theater, is that Miss Barber would record them and then we'd pick out of her Rolodex thingy which one we wanted to watch. And they all started with the because they were all recorded off of HBO. I didn't have HBO.
Right. But that hasn't been replaced in your adulthood with bum, 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 or The Sopranos or Game of Thrones.
No, these things get locked in. Mm-hmm. They're locked in.
Weigh in, listener. Which HBO theme do you hear in your head after you hear the HBO opening?
Comment comment up above.
That's new.
I just want to freak people. What?
This is like when...
Write on your wall above your computer your comments. Because no one cares. No, I'm kidding. I care. I do care. Comment on the side.
When I was taking driver's ed, like when the driver's ed teacher is driving in the car with you, I freaked out because the teacher kept saying, slow up, slow up.
Slow up?
Does slow up mean something different from slow down? Like slow up.
I'm stopping.
Similarly, my dad calls ice cream hot cream.
Okay. Why?
It's the opposite.
Wait, but he's kidding, right?
I don't know.
It's one of those things where I say ranch just to make myself mad instead of saying ranch dressing, and then you just only say it that way eventually.
You forgot that you were doing it.
Forgot that it was ever a joke. Yeah.
Maybe. So
hot cream.
Star Wars.
Like icy hot.
If you watch Star Wars, the special edition, the only version you can watch legally, you will see how fast the Star Wars logo zooms on the screen. That's because they had to speed it up so they can then throw in Episode 4, A New Hope. And again, A New Hope, what a limp title for a movie. Call it The New Hope, or call it A New Hope Appears.
This is just a new hope that you could have.
A New Hope, finally.
There could be it's up to you. This is just a option.
Right. You know, A Clockwork Orange, that's a specifically chosen title. Like, you're just seeing one Clockwork Orange, this specific guy and his weird ultra violence. But in Star Wars, you're like, okay, so I'm just looking at one of the New Hopes. Okay.
Yeah, well, there's lots of galaxies, Matt. So, I mean, everybody's fighting their own battles.
Laci, you'll be happy to know that I spent a lot of time this morning doing side-by-side comparisons of what the text of the crawl says in 1977 versus now. A little bit of spacing difference. The word rebel is capitalized.
Is this really happening?
That's it.
Oh, thank Jesus Christ.
So then there's a big ship that comes on.
Oh.
Yeah. And
that is a big ship.
People were losing their fucking minds in 1977 when this happened. And it's still pretty cool today. I'm sure Laci doesn't like it.
No, it's cool.
It's pursuing a smaller ship, the Tantive 4, where we meet R2-D2 and C-3PO. Laci, what do you think of these guys?
They grow on you. I like R2-D2 right away. C-3PO takes a minute because it's not fair because he's constantly responding to something we're not hearing. He's constantly being annoyed by something we don't read as annoying. So he just kind of comes off sounding like a sassy bitch. Always correcting R2-D2, who seems to be making lovely beeping noises.
I think it'd be like if people watched a movie of our lives and saw how we treat our dog, who is just the sweetest, cutest, he's everything you want in a dog, and we hate him for it.
This is what we'll get canceled for. You cannot. We love our dog. But we aren't your traditional dog people. We don't see every little dog action as like, oh, he's being dog. We see it as move.
Yeah, we don't really have the capacity to be into our dog, but he's there and we take good care of him, we're fed up with him. And every cute dog thing, we're like, oh my God, you again?
You would do that, Gunner. That's so you.
Greeting me when I get home.
Gross.
I'm also wired to not like things that like me back.
Oh, that's true. Man's best friend, sick.
So, yeah, R2-D2, but he is dog-like. He moves like a dog. He sort of...
He's super intelligent.
He gets excited.
He's pig-like.
Yeah, okay, he's a pig. You're right. I would like our dog more if he was a pig.
Stop talking about our dog. He's right there.
This is where we meet R2 and 3PO. And we also meet the evil Darth Vader and the beautiful and heroic Princess Leia. Tell me a little bit about each of these people, will you?
I've always enjoyed Darth Vader's look. I never realized how campy it is until this watch and how kind of... If I were a gay man, and I am, I would like that cod piece. It's just hard to take... He's a tall man, so his shiny dick vessel is just like... It's eye height, so it's just glistening when he moves. It's just very like plastic crotch.
It's the things I learn when I watch a movie with you. Never notice his cod piece, but go on. But
it's quite the piece.
You do see the world like you have the They Live glasses, and you see only cod pieces. You see only dicks.
I see only
packages.
Member junk. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's one of the first things you told me about yourself.
I can't stop looking at men's betweens. Okay, that's weird. He walks in. I mean, I love that they give you a blank white slate. Nothing in here matters. You're all nothing. You guys fall over. If someone goes pew, or if someone just runs into you, they fall over. They're just a pile of men. And he's just like, yes, I wear the opposite color. So I've always enjoyed Vader's whole deal. There he is. And then, of course, I am a fan of Princess Leia's hair. The dress is not one I would have chosen. I understand that she has that planet has their own style. But she looks perfectly fine. And it's somehow covered up, but also sexy because of the thinness of the fabric. The full face of makeup, as we've already discussed, bothers me. And I need 3 scenes of Leia before I'm like all in Leia. Mm-hmm. The first couple just fall kind of flat for me. That's all. She's the only woman in the whole fucking thing except for the aunt.
It is an issue though, because I mean, basically the second time you see her, she's doing her British accent. It is until she hooks up with Luke and Han. I would agree that she doesn't really work as a character, but even then,
I need after the trash compactor scene. From then on, she's good. She has to catch her groove with Han and Luke.
Okay,
she's acting a little princessy before that.
But she is a princess. She needs to get knocked down a peg.
She's acting like not very grateful for being rescued and stuff. And I need some gratitude. No,
okay, that's fair.
Ungrateful. It's hard to rescue people.
She's been tortured and captured, and
she took a
watched
nap.
her planet get genocided.
She took a nap after her planet was genocide. It tuckered her out. She's okay. She hasn't even messed up her rouge.
People process trauma in different ways.
Yeah, by being assholes.
Okay, can you explain to me what's happening in the plot right here? What's happening at this point in the movie?
She seems to know who he is.
She does. She says, "Darth Vader, only you could be so bold." But what the big ship captures the little ship. And then what? Okay, so
they specifically went after her because she had taken plans to expose the weakness of the Death Star, and I guess he knew that. I'm not sure how he knew she had taken something, but he knew he needed to go retrieve it from her.
Yeah,
they didn't have the cloud then, or else he would have been fucked.
Why?
Well, because she's got it on a hard drive. You can go locate her,
and you
send it to the galaxy. Well.
You saw Rogue One, and that was. Which is supposed to be the immediate prequel to this, which is the story of them stealing the plans. Oh. And the end of that movie hinges on we got to upload this to the thing. And it takes a long time. But yeah.
Data, man.
Data. I think this screenplay is impeccable. But for this, I think that the sort of the plot machinations in terms of the politics, who's on what side, are a little confusing to people who haven't seen this 100 times. Leia right here is supposed to be acting in her capacity as a republic official or a government official.
Yeah, that's I read her story as being like, I'm a diplomatic. This is a diplomatic ship, or whatever. We're nonviolent or whatever. That seems like a cover, and I think it might be a little more true than it reads.
It is a cover though. He's like, no, okay. You're part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor.
A traitor to who?
So to the Empire. She's supposed to be working in her capacity as the Empire, but she's secretly working to bring the whole thing down.
Wait, but who composes what planets create the Empire? Everything. All planets in sight are the Empire.
It's like the United States.
They're
Louisiana's
planets.
Louisiana's a state.
I understand how states work, but the whole world is not part of it. Earth is not an empire.
Earth would be part of a greater empire. Just make the United States on a bigger scale. Instead of states make up a country, it's planets make up an empire.
I got that. But how on Earth do you keep everybody united under that empire? It's far too huge. Okay. Well, why is there a rebellion? Because they are starting to do what to the empire?
The empire has always been crooked and evil.
So why would anyone want to be part of it?
Well, look at history. Why
You're on a whole other fucking planet. Make a group.
That's what they're doing.
I know.
Okay.
So there should be more of them.
Then we agree. So she's captured, but before she sneaks some hidden plans on R2-D2, well, we don't know that's what she's doing. We just see her crouching over on R2.
I had a feeling.
And then R2-D2 and C-3PO jettison. And
like this. They got away though.
Yeah, they did. And the Imperial officials are like, "Don't worry about that escape pod. There's no life forms aboard." They know about droids.
They know about droids though. That was one of my notes. Is like, how handy to be invisible. I mean, they hide in plain sight the entire movie. They don't mind us. We're just droids. But they have like they have emotions. They have connections to each other. They have loyalty. They have the ability to deceive. Are these the only droids that can do this, or are they just
no? I
really
think all
stupid?
Droids. I think that's intentional. I think that the comedy comes from like 3PO in all respects is like a human in terms of intelligence and and emotions and sentience, but they still treat him like he's Alexa.
Fine, but he gets to also play dumb. He gets to also be like, "Oh no, I'm on your side. I'm your droid now. You put my name on your foot like Andy. Then yeah, no, fuck those other guys. Who are they even? I don't even know. I have no loyalties to them at all. This is my friend. He comes with me everywhere." Like
artificial intelligence means emotional intelligence as well, and the ability to lie and to advance your own interests.
Right, but you think they'd catch on at a certain point if there's just millions of droids running around totally lying to other people.
Yeah, you would.
Also, there's sure are a lot of humans in this galaxy.
Yeah, there's a thing in the Star Wars extended universe about like human supremacy.
And I guess you do learn that inside of those stormtrooper costumes, it's just regular people, regular man people, humanoid people. But they do try to make them look like insects with the shape of the helmet. Across the board, odd choices for helmet shapes. Darth Vader's the only one I like. And I'm the only one that I'm like, yes, that helmet works.
And it's like lifted directly from samurai movies.
Then that's why it's not over exaggerated. It's just exaggerated enough. He looks important. Where, yeah, like it's almost like they gave all the stormtroopers stupid face. Like they gave like the brows like over their eyes or like squinting like, oh.
They do look like bugs.
Yes,
You're
and
right.
then they have these big jaws, like they're just like, oh, that's.
It's funny.
Stupid.
I look at them like, yeah, that's just the iconic stormtrooper look. But yeah, they do look like bugs.
It's like they're disrespecting them.
David Prowse is the body of Darth Vader, and James Earl Jones plays the voice. George Lucas was not happy with David Prowse's voice, and he thought we need something a little more gravitas, a little scarier. So they brought in James Earl Jones, who was an Oscar nominee at the time, but they had very little room in the budget, and so they said, James, we can offer you either $7,000 or points on the picture. And James Earl Jones was thrilled to get $7,000 for a day's work rather than tens of millions of dollars. Yeah.
I mean, R2-D2 already looks like a trash can, and then they just straight up give you a trash can next with feet. I didn't realize though. I mean, for so much of the time, R2-D2 just rolls instead of walks. There are shuffling moments, but mainly it's a roll. So it's like that couldn't have just been a robot. I mean, they couldn't have just had some motor put. Why make a man suffer? Is what I'm saying. Without any facial
because Kenny
credit.
Baker, the actor, is actually in the R2-D2 costume doing stuff.
That seems miserable on a desert.
Yeah.
Or ever.
Well, it's, invent a robot for our movie, a real robot that can move. I don't know. I don't know why they did that.
You just have to put it on a little motor. They had. I'm explaining this. Okay, so. So when I first watched this movie, I just thought that they had the escape pod with R2-D2 and 3PO go to the nearest planet, and then I'm just like, well, they lucked out. All the shit they need's on this planet. Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Han Solo. But I guess they were going there for a reason, and they immediately get picked up they walk around a little bit on an impossibly large desert, and they get scooped up, and then they get brought straight to Luke Skywalker's house, but they were headed for Obi-Wan.
But you're skipping on the magical 10 minutes that we spend with the droids in the sand crawler.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Okay.
There sure are creatures in that
creature
capture.
A lot of fun robot designs, but then we meet the Skywalkers.
Look, in every kind of movie where the person the movie is responsible for thinking up every possible kind of weirdness you could have or difference you might possess from being on a different planet or from a different galaxy, I almost just do this and wait for it to be over. I have never not been completely let down. There's always a couple of really good ideas, and then there's the fucking solid colored bullshit people. Like, then there's just the army men stuck around. The filler.
Wait, I don't follow.
I mean, it's in the Avengers movies. It's in, or Guardians movie. What's the one with Jeff Goldblum in it? Jeff Goldblum. Thor. Yeah. Yes, in Thor movies. It's in The Fifth Element. It's here. It's
like sensory overload?
No. They are supposed to be able to think of, what would something look like if it had this kind of shit on its planet? Well, okay. It would look really like something we can't imagine, and that's hard to create. So they always have like 5 or 6 really good ideas that are extremely different from each other. I can't even give you, like the Wookiee, for instance, that I understand a planet that he'd come from. That makes sense to me. A fish person, that makes sense too. I get that planet. But then there's just random like guy with weird nose. And then I get let down by where their imagination fell off the cliff. So whenever they compile all their little things, it's not like, yay, I get to explore this wonderland. It's, I don't want to look for the disappointments.
But the droids get led to the Skywalkers. And then what happens?
I really don't understand how much of this is like, oh, that worked out. Sorry. Oh, that worked out. Or this was Leia's plan all along. I don't think she knew anything about Luke. I mean, okay, so that was fucking convenient. So it's just a boy and his uncle who it seems like they're running a farm, and I know that they have a farm, but it seems like they're in charge of like a group of people, a neighborhood, or a village of some kind. But it just seems to be him, his uncle, and his aunt. So that's weird. And they're in need of some new equipment, and so they usually can find something off of that old scavenger truck that comes around every now and then. So they grab those 2 droids that we know and love after a different droid blows up. And now the gang's all here.
Yes, finally. But this is good world building for just how shitty we're here in the future in this magical space world, and it looks like shit and it's boring. It's not the future, but the sci-fi, the wonderful sci-fi universe that you can only imagine, and then you see it and you're like, oh, it's boring and shitty.
Well, I mean, it looks really lonely. Like, how much distance is there between sand huts? It just looks so desolate. So there's so many moments in this movie that look like it's a landscape of nothing.
So you feel how Luke Skywalker feels.
I feel the vastness.
Yeah.
The separation.
But what's the dynamic with the family?
I mean, he's obedient. He does what he's supposed to do, but he is itching to leave. He's doesn't want to be a farmer. Wants to go to pilot school. Loves piloting. Whatever kids he knew his age have already aged up and gone on to flight school. I mean, I don't really know where.
Yeah,
they're
going.
Don't
know. He says the academy. I don't know if that means the Empire, the Imperial Academy,
like or the academy to become rebels. Like I don't.
The Rebel Academy, or is there a this planet specific academy?
I also don't know their politics. Like, are these guys are friendly to the rebellion, or are they part of the Empire?
I've always thought they were friendly to the rebellion just because Luke says it's not like like the Empire, I hate the Empire. But his Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen never expressed their sympathies. Presumably, they're like, I don't deal with that stuff. It doesn't affect me. I don't think about it.
Well, it affected them because he gave him a child, and they probably don't talk about it a lot because then he'll realize, like, oh, your dad is a Darth Vader type. I mean, it seems like they're distancing. The uncle's like, I just have a farm. This is how I'm going to make my living. I just need to worry about the crop. I need to protect Luke. Luke's going to die if he starts trying to use the Force or all kinds of shit. And I need my helper. So, part of me thinks he's keeping him from the academy so that he doesn't then go find out about who he is and then kill himself.
And I realized this time around, they have their conversation about like, well, this time next year, I'll hire more workers and you can go. And it's like, no, I realized, a year from now, they would just have the exact same conversation. But he's doing the thing that the mistake lots of parents make, which is the thing I'm trying to prevent is going to cause the thing. I'm shielding you from all that stuff, and I'm forcing you to stay on this moisture farm and creating in you the desire to leave. Whereas maybe if I'd done things differently, you'd have been happy to stay here and work at the stationery store.
I think no matter what, he was going to go. It's just how contentious do you want this to be when I leave? You want to be dead, uncle? Because I can make that happen. Luke is a curse. He just looks lonely, misunderstood, and the aunt is a non-character.
Yeah. So...
And like starving for porn because one princess pops out of a droid and he can't stop fucking watching it. God, I feel his boner.
I mean, it's the most interesting thing to happen. And every time I watch it, I'm like, did I imagine him saying she's beautiful? For some reason, it's a thing I can't remember if I imagined or not because I think it's kind of dumb.
Well, he only ever sees his aunt. She's not the most pretty thing.
He's playing around with his droids and
trying to look for a place where he can stick his
R2-D2
penis.
Looking for somewhere to stick his penis. R2-D2 suggests you can put your penis where my restraining bolt is right now, but that doesn't work. Okay, so I'll play a snippet of this message. That'll get you to take off my restraining bolt. And he does. And then he's like, well, play the message. And R2-D2 says, what message? It's very funny. Mm. This thing is impeccably plotted because this is what taking off the restraining bolt is what leads R2 to run away to go search for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He's been put on a mission, Matt. And you're no droid if you don't fulfill your mission.
Did my clicker just stop working? Because
you use a clicker?
Yeah.
You don't just go boop with your finger?
I go boop with my thumb.
Okay. Technology.
So Luke goes chase after his missing droid.
And quite the little Land Cruiser, whatever these things are called.
The speeder. Wait, what is it called?
I don't know. I like it though.
Sand speeder.
I do like the little scenes where it's just like just him on the never-ending desert.
Yeah, and I like
you feel how fast it is.
In the original cut, you can literally see Vaseline on the lens to cover up the wheels. It's very charming. But this is why you can't call me a nerd because I can't even tell you what that thing is called.
I won't call you anything.
Thank you. He goes to the Great Dune Sea, but he gets attacked by filthy sand people.
How does anyone get anything done in this place? Can you go to Walmart without the sand people? You can't move around at night because of the sand people. That's the day.
There's very little you can do with it. Well, but he's invading their territory.
It all seems to be their territory.
No, this is their
upsetting. Can
territory. We skip? Obi-Wan or Ben Kenobi shows up because the message said, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi." And he's like, "I don't know that person. Maybe it's Ben Kenobi." And Ben Kenobi's like, "Oh, my name is Obi-Wan Kenobi."
I know. Oh, Ben can be.
It's not a great alias, but he starts giving the exposition. I'm a Jedi. I fought against the Empire. Getting this message. Time to get back to work. Why don't you go with me? Because now he sees an opportunity to recruit. I really love this world building. This is when they expand on this, and especially with the prequels, once you start seeing the Old Republic before the Dark Times, before the Empire, you realize, no, I liked it better when it was just a couple sentences you said in that first movie. But just doling out a little bit of information. Luke, you got to come with me. You got to be a Jedi. Go on me with this mission to Alderaan. I can't do that. I have work to do.
I'm on Luke's side.
Yeah, well, you love to work. Then, my favorite scene in the movie, we cut to the Death Star. This is our first look inside of the Death Star. And we're having a meeting of bureaucrats in a conference room. And I love these bureaucrats. These are just British theater actors. And George is like, just play some fascists, will you? They can. And they're all just arguing with each other about how great and big and beautiful their weapons are. And Darth Vader comes in, and we see, and you pointed out to me, I thought Darth Vader was like the big bad of this movie, but he's just like a functionary.
He's still trying to prove himself.
He's like a Rasputin, or it's definitely a trope in fantasy. The queen or the king adopts like a weird wizard or something who's now attending all the council
meetings.
Game
of Thrones.
Yeah, like Melisandre.
Yeah.
From Game of Thrones.
And she's proving all the time that her shit works. She brought someone back from the dead, a few people. So,
here,
it's not your old stupid religion. It is. It works.
Well, because here, Darth Vader, they're talking about the Death Star, and Darth Vader interjects, "Oh, the Force, though." And I would also be annoyed with him. Like, well, we're talking about the fucking Death Star. We're not talking about the Force. And he's like, "No, the Force is better."
Well, then why haven't you done anything with your Force?
And so then he starts force choking this guy. And then the real boss, Grand Moff Tarkin, tells Vader, release him. But this does not make everybody in the room suddenly believe in the Force, which is smart. Just because you got one thing, just because you can do your parlor trick doesn't mean I need to believe everything you say. Grand Moff Tarkin's played by Peter Cushing. He is eaten up this movie. So good. What else do you think about this scene?
What? It's your slide, bitch. You tell me. It's charming how simple and silly their all the little buttons and badges and stuff that they put on their costumes. But I mean, this is like the most egregious. Just like stick blue squares here.
It works.
It works.
This is the kind of evil I prefer in Star Wars. I love the bureaucratic evil. I love evil like, no, we're just like military guys and we want power. It's not about the Force. They're not Siths. That's why I like General Hux from the new Star Wars movies. Just
you like the basics.
If he were in
follow the money.
If you put him into any military dictatorship from our world that fit right in, doesn't matter. Just want to control stuff.
Another planet, another dollar. Here's where we get to see the great emotional acting that is this movie. I know you keep saying, "Oh, it's a kids movie. Oh, it's not supposed to be a drama." There are plenty of Disney movies that made me cry, that make me believe that the kid is sad about the parent dying.
Well, first say what happens.
So, it's his face. All right. Well, for some reason, he knows that he needs to run back home. This is Luke. Sorry, Luke has been dilly-dallying with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he somehow realizes like, oh crap, I might have led something right to them. I don't really actually remember.
Find the Jawa cruiser has been raided by stormtroopers. They're like, oh, then that means they could track the droids because they're looking for the droids. That means they could track them to my uncle's house, which they did.
He speeds back and just it's a crater and and the most fried little sad skeletons going, ow. And that's how he knows.
Why, Luke?
That's how he knows. Well, there's only 2 people that live in this hut when I'm not here. So that's aunt and uncle. No. And he does.
The aunt skeleton had a bow in her hair.
Right. It could be 2 stormtroopers, but no, they're definitely dead. Why not
he
just...
wants them to be dead. He's not going to ask
right,
questions.
That's what I'm saying. Like, oh, no, I guess I got to go do the Force and stuff. I need a nap.
Never forget, #,
So he's tuckered. Look at his face. He's just crushed. No tears, no nothing, just...
Okay, but your criticism right here is he just is insufficiently emotional at the
He has zero emotion to this at all.
You're looking at this picture right here that I'm looking at? Look at that. Oh. Dead?
Oh, okay. Wow. No, really. Sold.
This is all it takes for Luke to then go back to Ben Kenobi and say, like, all right, let's go.
I mean, he's already with Ben Kenobi.
No, he's by himself right here when he finds his aunt and uncle.
Well, then what is this pile and what is that old man in a sheet?
That's when he then returns to Kenobi and the droids. And I've always loved that C-3PO is helping clean up. He's putting this robe into a fire.
That is nice. All right, and here's the most devastated one of them all. Princess is coming to talk some British to the patriarchy here. They use the princess has been captured. She's not talking though. She won't give them what they need. So Darth Vader knows she needs a big black ball robot to come stick her in the arm.
The scariest thing in the world to me when I was a kid. I was like, she must fucking hate needles.
Who wouldn't?
Not what are they shooting her with, but yeah.
Milk. Look at it. But she's very sassy still. I don't know. They bring her to the war room for some reason. She needs to know the layout of the entire Death Star for some reason.
Yeah, they torture her and interrogate her.
She's not even sweaty.
We're to presume that they torture her. That this injection is some sort of torture thing.
I thought it's just like truth serum.
Or maybe it's truth serum. I don't know. I would argue truth serum is torture. Maybe you don't think it is, but we sort of have different values when it comes to enhanced interrogation. We fight about it a lot.
Well, and I don't find being truthful torture like you. Zing!
Damn it.
Yeah, you walked into that one.
Later, she's brought out to go meet with Grand Moff Tarkin, and this is where she speaks British. Grand Moff Tarkin. Let's hear Leia British.
Governor Tarkin, I should have expected to find you holding Vader's leash.
Oh.
I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board.
Oh.
Charming to the last. You don't know how hard I found it signing the order to
great
terminate your life.
Look at that.
Surprised you had the courage to take the responsibility yourself.
I mean, it's not just a line. It's a whole scene where she's talking. That's nuts.
Yeah, she was.
Well, they could just say the serum makes you British, which is torture.
So they want her to disclose the location of the rebel base, and all will be forgiven.
There's just one base. It's an entire galaxy. There's one fucking base. What if you can't travel? But what if you're really into being in the rebellion?
Big base. I don't know.
You can't travel.
It's got to be based somewhere. Where is
there should be several
rebellion
bases.
headquartered? Where is it's the Washington D.C. of the rebellion? You know, tell us.
I can still
or
vote
else,
though, can't I?
Tell us or what?
I'm saying I don't need to go to D.C. to vote. I'm just saying it's very. You need to have some sort of spacecraft to be part of this damn rebellion. It's classist.
Tell us where the base is, or else we'll destroy your home planet of Alderaan. She says, no. They're like, we'll do it, we promise. And she says, fine, the rebellion, the base is on
Deuteronomy.
Dantooine. They're on Dantooine. And then Tarkin is like, great, but Dantooine is not going to make a sufficient demonstration of our firepower, so we're going to destroy Alderaan anyway.
There goes all your trust.
Collective punishment.
And she goes, nah. I left my keys on that planet.
Yep. They destroy the planet, and then once again she goes, no. Oh no.
I'm never going to be able to get that collection of burned CD discs again.
I don't know. I mean, she experiences the genocide of her people. You want her to be like a wreck for the rest of the movie?
No, just like a guttural scream and then fade to black. And then
that's good.
And then
I like that.
I know. And so just like that. And then whenever you go retrieve her out of her fucking, she isn't freshly waking up from like a cozy little nap. She's just like, her hair's a little messy, and she's just like,
look, she's a soldier. She knows. Put that aside.
So she should be strategizing
later. For now, survive.
At least she's well rested.
The only way out is through, Leia. She knows that.
Thank you. Without you, this movie, I'd be so lost. Cantina. No, I do like the cantina scene. I love the little guys who are playing the music. That's a great look. Then there's also the people who come from Satan's planet, and then the wolf planet. See, he didn't have a lot of great ideas. He's just like, I don't know, what are creatures? Satan.
This is what he was.
Wolves.
I mean, this is why he was specifically disappointed, because in the special edition, that wolf guy isn't even in it. Because he's like, it was just a costume that I bought from a store, probably.
Sure. With laser pointers in its eyeballs. But anyway, they're going to go find a ride, right? They need a pilot.
Get to Alderaan.
Okay, they're going to Princess Leia's because R2-D2 needs to. I'm confused as to why he needed Obi-Wan Kenobi to get him to Alderaan.
Well, it was just, hey, do we have any
trust?
allies on this planet? And the planet that's down there? Oh, I know. Obi-Wan Kenobi lives there.
Okay, I'll allow it. That's fine. So he knows a good place, and this is not. You don't fuck around in here. In here, people are from other places. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes. So they go in there and they find a planet. A pilot to take them to a planet.
Who is that pilot?
That is the one and only Harrison Ford, the Han of Solos.
As Han Solo. But you might be asking yourself, how did he get the name Solo?
But because he likes to be on his own?
Well, yeah. Okay, so you don't have to watch the movie Solo from 2018 to find that out.
He loves
Laci
red cups.
Told you.
Oh.
So the key to the movie working, to being the masterpiece that it is Han Solo.
Yeah, well, and I would say and Chewie. I really
and Chewie, right?
I really enjoy. Look at that look. That is a very creative. I mean, it looks like the way Michael J. Fox looks when he changes into Teen Wolf, but.
This movie had to walk so Teen Wolf could run. But he doesn't show up until 47 minutes into the movie. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, that's
of a
wild.
2-hour movie? Thank you. So yeah, he's playing it as cool and cocky as he can, and Obi-Wan Kenobi offers him 2,000 now and 15,000 when we get to Alderaan, and Han accepts. And when I was a kid, I was like, that's a good deal. So
you weren't wrong.
He's very, again, cocksure, cocky, cool, and then his new clients leave and he's like, oh my god, thank fucking god.
I'm so in debt. From Pizza the Hut. It is an issue that I've seen Spaceballs like 3 or 4 times, because they do commingle in my head, and I'm laughing at the helmets, and I'm wondering why Jabba the Hutt is not made of pizza. And
so Spaceballs was a thing that worked for you, having no knowledge of Star Wars.
I liked help me,
Mel Brooks.
I like Mel Brooks comedies. Yeah. They're just tonally good. And I understood what this Star Wars is just part of the atmosphere. It's part of everyone's consciousness. it's baked into so much. So, I mean, I knew it enough. I, of course, appreciate a lot more of the jokes after watching this.
I guess we should talk about Han's meeting with Greedo.
Is it not like a well-tread?
All of this is well-tread. Why do we have a podcast?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to stop?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I feel really bad for what I said.
Yeah, well, Han shoots Greedo.
First?
I mean, in the original cut, first.
I didn't ask for all that. I
It
want
is
in
weird.
your heart. When does Han shoot?
He shoots first.
I kind of don't like that.
You don't
it
like
seems
that?
He's mean. I mean, they're not wrong. I think it's a choice, and I would have gotten over it because it's Han. But I get it.
But
it does seem mean.
The emotional payoff of him deciding the rebellion is worth fighting for
after taking a man's
starting
life.
from a guy who was going to turn him into Jabba. So you can turn me into Jabba, who's going to kill me, or I can kill you. It's you or me.
We all make choices. He's alone in this world. He's got to look out for his number one. I get it.
He sticks his neck out for nobody. It is exactly the Rick Blaine from Casablanca arc.
Exactly.
It is. He sticks his neck out for nobody, but by the end, he's won over by the power of the cause and also friendship and love.
Why is his hand so swollen right there?
Because that's why they call him Han. So then we meet the Millennium Falcon.
Look at his little outfit.
Such a great selling point about the movie is see all this cool space stuff and just say, what a piece of junk.
Oh,
look, this thing fucking sucks.
I thought you were thinking of the merchandising. Yeah. Because, you're going to have stuff that works and not look good. Mm-hmm. Stuff that looks good doesn't work great.
And the stormtroopers are there. They know Luke has the plans. They're on the chase. The bounty hunters are after Han. They all make it out of there alive just in the nick of time. Yes.
What a skill. I mean, I know there's like motorheads and gearheads, whatever they're called, who can fix up a Chevy, but the scaffolding you would need, just the scale of the ship that Han Solo was able to like customize and like he keeps, just that he knows how to fix everything inside of it. It's like saying you know how to fix a city, or like I know how to fix every single thing in that skyscraper. That's amazing.
Look, made a few special modifications.
Well, and if anything breaks, he fixes it. I'm just saying that is very impressive that you're just a guy that knows how to take care of a fucking ship.
This is George Lucas with some fucking car that he had when he was a teenager that he loved, that if I was a car guy, I'd know what the car was, but he...
Fine, but it's just a car. This is
him,
everything. That's not my point. I'm saying you're having to worry about furniture and electricity and the functionality of something that flies and all the stuff that keeps it seaworthy. And all, I'm saying it's more than knowing about a car. It's like knowing about everything you need to know to raise a skyscraper.
He's a very impressive man. I agree.
I just wanted to give him that credit. I think we think, oh yeah, he knows how to take care of a ship. Well, he has a ship.
You're
but
right.
That's really cool. And he knows how to drive
He knows how to take care
planets.
of the ship. He knows how to make the modifications and
he goes
fly
to light speed
and be the best at flying.
He knows how to use coordinates. He doesn't panic. He puts them in accurately because you could just end up in a fucking black hole. Mm-hmm. And then where would you be?
Yeah.
No, really, where would you be?
And that's the only time they say anything like that in all of Star Wars. But it's like, seems like one of the most important things is you're just flying through space at light speed. Yeah, you could come out and be in the middle of a sun. It's important. So they're on the Millennium Falcon. I hate this episode. They're on the Millennium Falcon. What? And no, it's really good.
Okay, great. If you say they're on the Millennium Falcon one more fucking time. Where are they, Matt? No!
They're on that. It's funny. The thing about Star Wars is characters will pronounce things differently. Some people call it the Falcon and some say the Falcon.
That is funny.
Weigh in, listener. Which side are you on?
This is like the most just unimpressive, stupid freaking scene where, Luke Skywalker is, okay, this is now they're on the ship and Luke Skywalker's just back there fucking around with his lightsaber in a ship for some freaking reason.
You gotta do something.
Fine. And I know he's in training, there's no time to spare except for like becoming a real Jedi. Takes years, but let's train on the ship. Fine. And
let's start somewhere.
Whoa. And he's just, I can't. It's like watching a kid with the cup and the ball thing. Go, I can't do it. And then the old guy's like, you know what? You're trying too hard. Try to not think. Puts the helmet on. Katoop. Told you. Like, bitch, he had a 50-50 shot. Anyway.
What's your issue?
He just looks so... It's funny. It's relatable. It's very real. It's just like, I'm practicing to be a Jedi right now.
That
it's
is
silly.
what he's doing.
It's cute. He's supposed to be this impressive Jedi in my memory, in the hearts and minds of people, but this is him just going,
No, this is just the beginning of his journey, the first step into a wider world.
I just think it's funny that he's practicing in the back of someone else's ship while the guy's trying to fly. Quit fucking around back there.
I guess.
Because what if he puts his lightsaber through any of the stuff around him? It's a flying ship.
It is a little reckless. I wonder if there's some sort of setting you can put it on where it's like, can this not cut through things at this setting?
I guess I just feel like they should have asked if it was okay if they opened their lightsaber in.
They probably did, but we didn't have to see that scene. We also don't see them go into the bathroom.
Okay, well, what if they hit turbulence? He's just going to just kill Obi-Wan?
No, that's a good point. They hit a space rock, bump up, hits him in the face.
Or just a hole, and they'll go shooting at it.
Yeah, that's the whole. Then we'd have no movie series. You're right.
You're right.
Well,
plot hole.
Yeah, practicing with his little lightsaber.
Ding,
use the Force. Oh, I'm better when I'm using the Force. And then Han's like, Force. Puh. Call it a bunch of bullshit is what I call.
I am a little bit confused as to what parts of this is the Force. Like, could Han Solo not pick up that lightsaber and do the same thing? What is the Force? When do you know it's happening?
It's when Luke covers his eyes and knows where to move the lightsaber to repel the little laser shooting at him. Even though
how is that the Force?
It's like Elsa in Frozen. You conceal, don't feel, except reverse it. Feel, don't conceal.
I can see eyes shooting out of Elsa. I know
when energy of the universe.
I know when. Shut up! I know when Elsa's using her powers. I can see it happening. They're not. It is clear in following movies when the Force is happening. Is what I'm saying. The
Force is pretty nebulous. Yeah, they don't define it that much in this movie, other than Obi-Wan saying it combines us and unites us. And
so why couldn't anyone be a Jedi?
Us because you have to have that special something that connects you to the Force. So in the greater Star Wars universe, they call it Force sensitive. You just have more sensitivity to the Force and
so you're just
are able to channel it and use its magical powers. But it's still in all of us. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it does. Shouldn't there be a planet here? Oh, right. Han Solo is very confident about his coordinates because he is certain that he now has left light speedness to the coordinates he put in, and the answer is there's not a planet. Not that he mistyped in one number. Yeah. No, the planet's gone. It's a thing. It happens all the time. I'm always ending up where a planet should be, and it's not there, and it's not me. It's
what's likelier, that I pressed the wrong button? No, the planet's fucking gone.
The only thing that
and they're all just like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, right. Well, except for that, they're seeing the bits of a planet that has exploded, and I guess they're all used to traveling up there, and they realize like these meteors are usually because something has broken apart. So fine, I'll buy it. And that's when they realize planets are going missing. So now they got to change course, I guess. Or is that when they notice like a little ship and they're thinking,
but they come upon the Death Star.
They were like, oh, this little ship. The ship isn't big enough to be all over the place out here. It must be, there should be going somewhere nearby. It must be going to a mommy ship. And they're like, oh no, it's flying to that moon. Now I gotta say, that is fucking impressive. That is the coolest thing of the whole movie, is when they're like, oh, it's that little planet. Oh my God. Because the sheer size of it. And they wait for right then to even tell you it's a circle. You don't know anything about it. You're just like, they're just in a fucking ship. And then you see it and you're like, that's a big ship.
That's a big ship. You're right.
That's a big ship.
It's impressive.
I'd like to understand a little bit more about what's all in there. Now I do understand how Darth Vader gets his weird nothingness room. There's plenty of real estate in there.
It's just like conference rooms and like caverns and little walkways over nothing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Now, this is again just a good screenplay, just cause and effect. We saw the planet destroyed a few minutes earlier. To different people see that. Now these new characters are like, oh shit, they're coming in the debris of the planet. They don't know what's happened, but they get sucked into the Death Star. They're caught in a tractor beam. How are we going to get out of this? Don't know.
I'll tell you how. They're going to go inside of the floor of the... It's just like... Okay, how many ships have these people seen? And the stormtroopers are so like trained and everything. Like, oh, I'm gonna go do a sweep, but I'm not gonna look at every place where a human could go. Whatever, fine. But
no, this is you get what you pay for. This is like
right.
minimum wage
quality,
workers who are like
quantity, not quality.
We did a sweep. No, we looked. We checked on the ship.
They were
nothing.
bringing in the sweeper.
Yeah, the more skilled employees were coming next.
It's not the employees; it was a machine. But they find enough to say, I guess these droids were on it. I guess this is a droid ship. And then they take the droids and they're just like, oh, we'll just say whatever we want in front of these guys. They're just stupid robots.
Yeah.
Then they all sneak out of the floorboards and where the fuck's Wookiee? I don't know. And they just go poking around, right?
Well, there's some stormtroopers right outside the ship, and Han is like, "Hello down there! Could you come give us a hand? Hello down there!" And they come up, and then they just attack them and take their costumes. Yes, now we're stormtroopers. It works.
Costumes, not their uniforms.
No costumes.
What kind of man are you? Oh,
what kind of man am I? Not a stormtrooper.
True. They then learn that the Princess Leia is on this Death Star, but I mean they weren't going there because of that. They weren't even going there. They learned that why? Because like over the loudspeaker or something, or just because they plugged into the know everything hole.
They go in because they're trying to find the tractor beam to get it to deactivate it. Then they can escape. But they're like, okay, well, while we're waiting on Ben to go do that, let's poke around, plug into the tell me everything hole. And it tells them the princess is on the ship. And then Luke's like, we got to save the princess.
Right. Because I could jerk off to her instead of this hologram of her because I'll bet she's bigger.
It's all about jerking off with Luke. He's a sick fuck.
He's a young man. The only woman on his planet was his aunt.
Peru, yeah.
All right. So Han's like, I'm not doing that. This isn't what you paid me for. This is some bullshit. I don't know, but of course, like anything, they talk them into it, and they go on a rescue mission.
Yeah, and they get her.
Oh, and they put the Wookiee in handcuffs because how are you going to hide him? He's a prisoner.
It's a good plan.
Just a person.
They pretend he's the prisoner. That's how they get into the prison. Taking a prisoner down here. I've
never seen it before. It is cutting edge, yes.
And they're like,
I'm not allowed to say that?
No, not
well, then you're not allowed to say it's good.
Okay.
Okay.
Agreed.
Thank you.
They're just more Death Star shenanigans. They get Princess Leia out of her cell, but stormtroopers are swarming in to attack them. So they jump into the garbage chute, end up in the trash compactor.
They do not jump in there. Leia does not think that they're doing enough to get out of the situation they're in, which they're in a hallway that's completely sealed. It does seem like this is not going to work out. And she goes, give me that. Someone's got to save our skins. And then she shoots a hole. But she ends up putting them in a lot of danger, and they're very lucky that they got out of the trash compactor. So she doesn't know what she was doing either.
No, better odds down there than up here. She made the right decision. She takes action.
Yeah, they weren't taking any action. You're right. They were just
just defending, just fighting them off. But what's the end game here? What are we going to do? Where
are we
going?
Kill them all. Kill them all. And then you got a free run of the ship. You got all the food. You can sleep wherever.
It's a lot of killing you have to
talk
do.
on the PA. Just pretend you're.
Well, they end up in the trash compactor. What do you think of the trash compactor scene?
Whoa, that trash is way compacted. No one's going to get that joke. Great.
It's from the book I Stink.
We read over and over and over. What do I think of the trash compactor scene? Little strange, the water part of it, that he gets pulled under. And then
garbage water. Wait, no, business water is what you hate.
But there's a creature in there that pulls them under and it's an issue, and then it's not an issue at all. Now it's just like, oh shit, this thing's getting scrunchy. I have claustrophobia. I'm learning that more and more as I get older. I think I probably know that. But like when I see a scene like this, I am hyperventilating. I hate the idea of a room getting small slowly. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's effective. I mean, I don't know.
But you still hate it?
No, I don't hate it. It was a nice little bonding experience. They all get very excited that they're all alive after the droids saved the day.
We did it.
Yeah.
They say.
Except for the droids did it.
Yeah, but they
all
contacted
Skywalker
the droids.
did was like, where could he be? Well, come in, R2D. Where could he be? Oh, look.
Do you think our computers, whenever we do something on them, are like, oh, I did it. I did a good job at work today. And the computer's like, I did it.
I hope so. Why red and blue? So that they don't... You think they get mad when they're about to have a lightsaber battle and someone's got the same color laser as them? They're like, well, now I'm not going to know which one's mine.
No, it's easy to tell. Are you evil? Ask, am I evil? If you're evil, you have red.
Oh, does it? It's like a mood ring? It turns a color
No, it
if
doesn't
you
turn
open
a color.
How do you know?
I don't know lightsaber lore. It's something to do with kyber crystals. But Darth Vader has a red lightsaber and he runs into Obi-Wan Kenobi. Time for us to finally let's settle this once and for all. Let's have an old man fight.
And just what athleticism.
I love how small and basic this is.
Okay, yeah. I can love it for that. Fine.
Because as this series goes on, these things get so elaborate, acrobatic, and this is just two old men. Just
and they're right. They're both of them are just like, oh god damn it. Okay, but Darth Vader is much younger than Obi-Wan, right? That's who changed him.
He is younger.
He's 20 years younger.
Probably. Okay, so this is a 7-year-old and a 50-year-old.
They're just like, oh god, this is. If only we had this fight in the morning.
Plus, he's a big metal man.
My back is shot, but it's plastic.
Yeah. Obi-Wan gives himself up to create a distraction to allow his friends to escape. It's heartbreaking. It's devastating. Laci was looking at her phone during this scene.
And then from the back, I mean, this is exactly what Oompa Loompas wear. Now we're in the Rebel base. As I've learned here. Don't they look from the back look like Oompa
Yes,
Loompas?
I know, but this is audio. People don't see what we see.
I wish you would tell me that. I'm kidding. I know.
All right,
so I'm looking.
They escape the Death Star. They deactivate the tractor beam. They get on the Millennium Falcon. They do it. They get out, and then 4 TIE fighters chase them, and they have a really neat little space battle with 4 TIE fighters. It's great in how small scale it is. This movie's got perfect scale. Ding, ding, ding. But they make it to the moon of Yavin. Yavin 4 is the name of the moon that this rebel base is on.
Okay, so there's multiple bases. Good to know.
Just one base, multiple moons. Don't know what's on those other moons.
Walmart.
Oh, there's a Walmart moon. There's a Target moon.
No.
For some reason, there's a Sears moon.
And a haberdashery. And then what do you call that with the hookers? Brothel. Brothel moon.
There is a rebel moon that they're on.
And a rebel moon.
Is where we are. And they've successfully delivered the plans. They open up the plans. Like, oh, I can't wait to see what's in these plans.
You think that's like a moon that refuses to pull on the tide? I'm a rebel. Stay there, water.
You want me to do that?
You like it, wouldn't you?
These plans are very helpful because they say, hey, you can actually bring the whole thing down if you shoot here. Here, shoot where the X is. Great. All you guys get up in your pilots.
All
get
you
up
go
there.
Do. Everyone try.
Go do your thing. Luke Skywalker, you say you're a pilot. Okay, you get a leadership position in this squadron of fighters. Everyone complained about Rey. We didn't see her train to learn to be a Jedi. How is she so good at that? We've never seen Luke fly a plane.
Or train to be a Jedi. Oh,
but
that's
he doesn't
the next
do Jedi
movie.
stuff yet. But he does he says earlier in the movie, I'm a pretty good pilot myself.
Yeah.
But has he been to space? What craft is he piloting over on Tatooine?
This is just about maneuvering, and I'm sure there's only the flying a plane and flying a
sand plane
ship, or it's still the same
principle
science that makes something avante.
Yeah, point and shoot.
I'm not talking about the fucking shooting part. I'm sure he's not shooting a lot of stuff.
No, shoot your jet engine. You shoot it that way to go that way. That's what I'm talking about. So, yeah. Luke Skywalker says to his new best friend Han Solo, Han, you gotta come with me. We need you. Look at us. There's only 12 of us. We're probably all going to die, and that'll be the end of the universe and the end of democracy and freedom. Please help us, please. Han Solo says, I stick my neck out for nobody. Well, what do you think about it? And he says, no, I won't. But hey, Luke, may the force be with you.
And he meant it.
Yeah, I don't believe in that shit, but may the force be with you. Tear in my eye. Yes, it's great.
Yeah, getting some fucking acting movie. Out of Harrison
Sorry, I'm not
Ford.
supposed to say that.
I didn't. Who said you?
You told me I can't say it's a good movie.
No, I said you can't say when a plot device is good when it's something so true. They pretend that Wookiee's a prisoner. Isn't that so good?
It is good.
Yeah, the 17th time I've seen it, it's good. What are you talking? It's so obvious. It's not extra this movie made that up. It didn't. I guarantee a Western did it before them.
I never said it invented it.
And that's all I was saying was that you can't be over there huh? It did a movie thing.
And
Jesus Christ.
I guess, I thought that would win you over, but it didn't. Thought, hey, don't you like that?
Anyway,
no.
That's the only thing I said you can't do. I didn't say you can't call the movie good. Of course, the movie's good to you. An assault on the death. God, they can't even make the whole movie through without a fat joke for no damn reason.
What are you talking about,
Well,
Laci?
now we're looking at the Death Star dogfight that's about to happen with all the little pilot ships.
Go through this beat by beat, please.
Oh, okay. I'm I am educated enough to do that.
No, just first of all, you like the Death Star fight or no?
Sure. It goes on a little longer than I think it needs to, honestly. But it's adequate enough like hardship that I get why they celebrate at the end. I mean, it's a massive accomplishment that they do because the Death Star looks like indefeatable, and then they defeat it. So
because they shoot it in the shoot hole.
Right, gotta put it in the shoot hole. I mean, it's a little unsatisfying how disposable all these men are who seem to be best friends, and then one by one they all die.
Let
and
me tell you something about war, Laci.
I understand, but it's more than war buddies. These people live on a rebel moon together, like they're family. But yeah, whatever. They're there for a reason, and they've fulfilled.
Just as an action sequence, do you think that do you think your verdict is it's fine? I think this is one of the greatest action sequences in movie history. I think it has to introduce so much stuff to you, like the mechanics of how the X-Wings, the good guy fighters work versus the bad guy fighters. Like you even learn how they scope each other out and when you shoot one versus when you shoot the other, and you follow all of it effortlessly. You get the spatial geography of the thing. You get the individual different fighters. You get how you have to swoop in, wait a certain amount of time, then bam, shoot it with your targeting computer, hit the proton torpedoes in the shoot hole. You know exactly what to do, and when they do it, it's so satisfying. And then you have the emotional payoff of Han Solo. Basically, like 1 minute after you've forgotten him, then he returns. That's perfect. Returns, saves the day, prevents Darth Vader from shooting Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker destroys the Death Star. They zoom away. The ship explodes. And then Laci says, that explosion looks stupid.
What are you talking about?
You said that. You said this looks stupid.
Because it just like, boom.
What?
It wasn't loud enough. Anyway, but so that's what I feel about this scene, guys.
Yeah, but that's it. They do it. They win the movie. They win the awards. They get medals from Princess Leia.
I do like this scene. I like them all in their little dress clothes. Finally, Luke looks like not a little sleepy man in his robe. Wookiee does not get a medal. We will not discuss this.
I watched this movie for 30 years without realizing Chewie doesn't get a medal before discovering that people on the internet started cults and terrorist organizations about it.
I like how shiny both of the robots are. They've been given the treatment. I like Leia's dress. Don't love her necklace, but that's okay.
If I didn't see the end of the movie, then when C-3PO, finally realizes, R2, I do love you. I'm so sad that you got shot.
Aww.
And then the new people, the techs come in and he's like, you will fix him, won't you? I don't know what I'd do. I'd kill myself without him. And they're like, we'll get repairing on him right away, sir. If I hadn't seen the end of the movie, I would assume they're just lying to him. But no, we see they really did fix him. It's just a fucking computer.
These are special computers. That's Alexa and Siri. Right there.
And they can get along, so why can't we?
Exactly. And look at Harrison Ford. I can't wait for his hair to be different. He does have better hair going forward. We did it. Look at those guys. Pew, 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 pew.
All right, let's never talk about a Star Wars movie again.
Thank God.
So, what are your final thoughts and star rankings? Please summarize and synthesize everything you've said.
Star ranking.
Star rating, sorry.
Oh, no, I wasn't picking on you. I mean, I can.
Pick on me.
Okay. I don't want... I'm trying to picture myself doing this on Letterboxd, being totally out in the open.
Own it. Own your
3.5.
3. Jesus. I thought you were going to go 3 or 2.5.
I'm not crazy. I get what it did. I wish I could be 20 years or less removed from the actual making of this movie. I think that is a good window. It's a generous window. To really appreciate everything. I like the 3, 4. I like the group. There are people to care about, and that's usually the most important thing to me. I understand what's going on most of the time. That's a plus. It's very creative the way that it was made. I see the love and passion that was put into it. It is one of a kind that has been copied for the rest of eternity. So that, I mean, I think anyone should see Star Wars at least once. Anyone that cares about movies, it is a canonical text. I respect it for that, even if it's not for me.
It occurred to me recently.
Oh.
You talk about caring about characters, and I wondered, what does Laci mean by that? Do I care about characters?
I don't think
Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm a heartless bastard.
I think you get a lot of joy out of lots of things about the experience of a movie, things that I don't care about, and I just, when that part is missing, I have less of an attachment and less of attention span for the movie on the whole, especially when they're introducing characters and they're giving me people, but they're not writing it well enough, or the people aren't acting correctly, or it was just a bad choice. It is a flaw if I can feel a movie trying to make me care and they're not succeeding. It's just glaring. I think that, and maybe it's George Lucas's direction and sort of lack of investment in building up characters. Like they've appealed to so many people, and people are emotional about Star Wars in a way that they aren't about, for example, Raiders of the Lost Ark, for a similar movie around the same time, where Indiana Jones is basically not a character. It's all action there. Well, because these were unknowns, or, you're catching all three of these guys while they've become a thing together. They seem like friends in real life. They've just happened to stumble upon a movie that's going to make them insanely famous for the rest of their lives. And so there's some kind of like just endearing feelings you feel toward them as a group. Mm-hmm. They're a little brat pack, little star pack,
I guess.
And I enjoy them as a trio. But I think that makes it harder as the movies progress and new characters are introduced. You're not ever going to feel that same way and that same like super attachment to they all seem so alone. They seem like they only have each other, and that makes you like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like they all found each other and they all needed to find each other, and that makes you care that they all continue to live to be able to support each other.
But that's why I say like these are good characters, because
that's what I was just saying.
No, I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying.
I don't want to.
You just project, like everything you just said, it's kind of just projected onto them, because very little of that is in the movie itself. You're just kind of, it's like, it's true. It feels true about them, even if it's not necessarily something you see.
You
that's
see
why they're
a planet get destroyed. You see a boy's only family murdered. You see Han Solo talking over and over how he's solo.
Yeah,
I
but
get
you never
that they're alone.
Feel their loneliness.
Yes,
but
I
you
do.
project onto them, they must be lonely. I think that.
No, you're right.
Gonna run out of song here.
What do you think?
That they exist for people to project onto and feel like I'm Luke or I'm Han or I'm
Who do you
Leia.
relate to? Who are you?
None of them.
I'm Han.
I don't relate to characters. I don't feel for characters.
You're dead inside.
Yeah. So everything that you say about kind of keeping, like admiring the movie from afar, is the position you've reached at the end of this, to say 3.5 stars to this movie, which blows me away that you'd be that generous, because I thought you actively disliked this movie. And even if you did actively dislike this movie, it's totally fine. And I see it. I see it going through this and see why this movie just may not work for you and may not work for lots of people. But it did connect with people and continues to connect with people for some weird reason in a way that, I don't know, other movies of its size and scale don't. I love it as much as I ever have, and I love the shabbiness of it. I love the way that it's mainly just people in rooms talking to each other. I love the smallness of it, and I love like what it teases, like a great big universe out there waiting for you to discover it. So 5 stars for me. I think The Empire Strikes Back is better, but we're just talking about this one, Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back next week.
Yeah.
So follow us on our social medias, please. Load Bearing Beams Pod on YouTube, Load Bearing Pod on Twitter, Load.Bearing.Beams on TikTok, Load Bearing Beams on Instagram.
You put TikTok 3rd instead of 4th for the very first time. Look at it growing on you. Come on by, won't you, to the TikTok?
Say hi to Laci. She runs the TikTok account. She is very active.
Very.
I am on Letterboxd at load at. I am on letter. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I am on Letterboxd at Matt Stokes 9. Laci's on Letterboxd at
Load bearing Laci.
My band has an album called The Joy of Averages. The band is called We're All Around 9, and the music on Load Bearing Beams is by said band. You can hear more of it on Spotify, Apple Music, and wherever else you listen to music.
At my grandma's house.
On the Victrola.
Okay, I love you. Bye.
Three, four. Everybody, love bearing beams.